The door of the antechamber opened. Everyone turned to see who the new visitor was. One of Kalliowski's henchmen entered.
"What is it?"
asked Kalliowski brusquely.
"There's been a break-in at your apartment, sir."
"You must be mistaken. Milk-Eye wouldn't have let anyone get past him."
"He's out cold, sir. Anything taken?"
Kaliowski's voice was like the hiss of a viper.
"No, sir. But 2 of the automata have been opened."
"Did you look inside?" asked Kaliowski in a menacing whisper. The man trembled.
"Yes, sir. They were empty."
Kaliowski brought his fist down hard into his gloved hand. He paced back and forth, his eyes wild. He knew that only someone who could work the threads of light would have been able to open the secret chamber. But Tetu had been at the theatre.
"Are you sure?"
His hands automatically went towards the man's throat, and he began to strangle the life out of him. The people in the room, shaken from fitful sleep, now did their best to separate the pair. Kaliowski shook himself free and looked down at the man on the floor, who was crimson in the face and gasping for air. At that moment, the door to the meeting room was opened. White with anger, Kaliowski pushed his way to the front of the queue to ask for his document.
"There's no one by the name of Sidonie de Ville-Duval on the list,"
said the lizard man with some relish. Kaliowski ignored him, scribbled a note, and handed it to him. "This is for Citizen Danton, and if you value your life, you will give it to him."
"Are you threatening me?"
"Yes," said Kaliowski. "And if you don't do as I ask, I will kill you and take pleasure in it."
"A good joke, citizen,"
said the man, blowing smoke through his nose like a dragon. For all that, a shiver went down his spine, and he took the note and closed the door behind him. All those waiting shifted uneasily on their feet. Only a few had left with the documents they needed. Church bells rang the tocsin, and in the distance, cannons boomed. Kaliowski was left wondering if it was possible that Tetu had set up that charade at the theatre in order to keep him there while someone broke in. But they would never have known where to look unless whoever it was had been able to make the sisters macabre talk, and only a powerful shaman could do that. Then it came to him. A moment of realization, just as the day was dawning.
"Damn!" he shouted out. "Of course! The boy!"
Annis had had a child. That night, all those years ago, after she had run away from him, when he had found her working with Tetu and Topola in the circus, that night, he had begged her to be his wife, promised he would change. She had refused. Stood there, her dark hair, her eyes blazing, so mysterious in all her beauty. If he couldn't have her, then he was determined no one else would. He remembered the delicious softness of her neck, how he had put his hand round her throat, and she had smiled at him, showing no fear. He had pressed his hands tighter and tighter round her neck. The sense of power tingled within him. He had shaken her like a doll, felt the flutter of her heart as it ceased beating beneath his hand. In the silence that followed, before regret threatened to break him in two, in the last moment he had ever allowed himself to feel anything for anyone, he had heard the soft sound of a baby crying. Now he realized, of course! Tetu had taken the child, brought him up. The boy at the chateau on the night of the Marquis's party, that was him! He could still hear Annis laughing from beyond the grave.